Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, it's a long one, PTASP, for 2024 approved. And then we can go over the other two agenda items. So it is now 2:02 p.m. on December 20th, 2023, and I'd like to call this this Transit Safety Committee meeting to order. Again, welcome. Thank you all for attending. We're now conducting our meetings on Zoom, and we have the meeting information on the screen. Please note that you are all on mute, and if you take yourself off of mute, go to the bottom left of your screen. I would like to now start with a roll call of our voting members. Starting with the RTA, we have Rio De Leon.
Here.
Thank you. With Total Ride National Express, we have Rebecca Silva.
Here.
Thank you. Jason Tuttle.
Here.
Thank you. Ted Herner, I believe he's out. Esteban Quevedo, I believe he is also out. Estela Nunez.
Here.
Thank you. And then with second generation, we have Kathy Hutton.
Present.
Thank you, Kathy. I believe Darren Rendon is out.
He's out. There's another person, Stuart Daly, is on with Brad.
Okay. Thank you. And then Brad Reed.
Here, along with Stu.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Brad. So yeah, we officially have quorum, and we can now proceed with the meeting. So I will move on to agenda item number 2. I hope everyone received the agenda through email. This is the item on the 2024 PTASP, and I will give just a brief update on the minor changes that were made for this year's version of the PTASP. We approved this last year around the same time, so we just have to do this on an annual basis per the FTA for FTA requirements. And as a reminder, once the committee has reviewed and approved the PTASP, it is brought to the RTA's executive director, Farhad Mogimi, for his review and approval. After Farhad approves this plan, we bring it to the RTA board for their approval, and then finally to ADOT for their final approval. So it goes through a chain of approvals along the way. And our Transit Safety Committee is the first step in the approval process. So I do appreciate all of your efforts in your review and approval of this plan. And this should be pretty short and sweet. This year, I've only made minor changes to the plan that was approved in 2023. No additional FTA requirements have been needed for this year's version of the plan. So the majority of the changes this year are updates from last year's information. Currently 6 changes that were made this year's PTASP that are as follows. Number 1 being minor updates in information in requirement number 1 on page 11. So with that one, it was just, very minor changes to, information regarding our agency, the RTA, and my current title has changed between years, so I made that change. So it's mainly information regarding the RTA with that one. Change number 2 was adding page intentionally blank on all of the pages throughout the plan that indicate sections. So last year we didn't have that in our plan, and it was, from my understanding, a little confusing. It just kind of looked like a blank page. So we just wanted to further clarify that those pages were intentionally blank for a reason. Change number 3, we added additional reference documentation information on page C. I believe there's another safety document that pertained to that section of the PTASP that we wanted to add that information into. But no core information was changed. It was just information regarding reference material. Change number 4 was just updates to the route and schedule maps for all of our services in the plan. Between last year and this year, there have been some route modifications. So we just went ahead and included the most up-to-date route maps and schedules. Change number 5 was the updated P-TASP revision log on page 93. And that basically just states the changes that we have made for this year. So everything I'm talking to you about right now, that's all included very briefly in this revision log that you have to update on an annual basis as well, just to let the reviewers, know, and to be a place where reviewers can look to see where exactly, the changes have been made for this year. And then lastly, we just updated 2023 to 2024 on the cover page. And that's essentially it. I mean, those are the changes we made. It doesn't seem like any additional information or sections are needed for this year based on my review of the FTA website and the information that the FTA provides for requirements for the PTASP. And I didn't receive any suggested edits or revisions from members of the committee. So I'll assume that everyone feels that this plan is sufficient and does not lack any crucial information. So with that said, I wanted to provide everyone with the opportunity to make any comments on the 2024 PTASP before we move to a motion to approve this plan. So I'll open up the floor to anyone who has any comments at this time. Okay, so yeah, it seems like everyone is on board with the current 2024 PTASP. So with that, if there aren't any additional comments, I'd like to request a motion to be made to approve 2024 PTASP to bring to the RTA's executive director for his approval. And anyone who's part of the voting member committee, the committee, the members who I called out in the roll call, you can just say, I make a motion to approve the 2024 PTASP. It can't be me, but it has to be another voting member.
I make a motion that we accept it as revised.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. And then I will thank you, Rio, for seconding that motion. So if no additional discussion is requested for this motion, I will now ask for a vote from each member. And we can do this pretty simply. All in favor, just say aye.
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 Okay. And all opposed, say nay. All right, no nays. So the vote is unanimous. And the PTASP for 2024 will now be brought to the RTA's executive director for approval, hopefully. All right, thank you all for that. And we can now move on to agenda item number 3, which is the FTA grant 5039 application update. This is just an informational agenda item. No voting is needed. I just wanted to provide all the members with an update on where the RTA is with this particular grant. This grant 5339 was a grant that is being overseen by ADOT, and it was for buses and bus facilities. And so the RTA did send a grant application out to ADOT requesting 4 additional vehicles, cutaway buses specifically. 2 of those cutaways are going to be 36-foot Freightliners for hopefully the additional midday service from Ajo to Tucson. So we haven't been able to run that midday service, even though everyone is aware of the demand in which that's needed, just because we don't have the vehicles. Luckily, this grant did provide us with funding for 2 Freightliners. And as we all know, the process for actually procuring and delivering those vehicles is going to take probably over a year. At least we can get the ball rolling. And once we make that purchase and we have those vehicles delivered, we can officially begin that midday service that is desperately needed. So I'm excited about that. And then the other 2 cutaways we have funding for 1 25-foot cutaway and 1 22-foot cutaway. And One will be going to the Silver Lake Yard in Tucson, and one will be going to the Ajo Yard. And that will just be for our regular, however you want to use those vehicles for our existing services. So I just realized, okay, so that's for the 2023 Grant 5339 application. So that's in the works. But I actually wanted to talk about the 2024 5339 grant application. So apologies. I mean, that's good information for everyone to know. So it's not completely off topic, but the main point and objective of this agenda item was to talk about the current status of our newest grant, 5339 grant application. So I will shift to this update. So for this newest iteration, we requested funding for a number of vehicle enhancements, that being, it was broken up into 3 projects. The first being ADA compliant signage and audio systems. So we have internal signage in our vehicles that say, where we are along the route, what the stop name is and that type of information, as well as an audio system stating, you are at stop X. This is an ADA requirement. Currently, our buses are not doing that. So we are wanting to stay within compliance and install that signage and audio system into our buses, just so it creates a better experience for our riders. And then the second project was that we applied for funding for were the driver protective shields that we want to install in all the vehicles that protect the driver from unruly passengers potentially, or other situations, just to provide additional safety for our drivers, because it is a priority for the RTA, and I'm sure for Second Gen and National Express. So we are funding for the shields, and then lastly, we applied for enhanced security camera systems for our buses. So adding additional cameras, so if there's incidences that occur within the bus or vehicular accidents that occur outside of the bus, if there's a collision, these cameras should be able to pick up on that and provide us with, video evidence, or just, additional security and information for those types of situations if they occur. So those are the 3 projects we applied for. We received partial funding. So all in all, we were awarded $230,000 for those 3 projects, which will cover a good portion of what we were wanting. The RTA will have to provide matching funds for the rest of vehicles that weren't awarded funding for these enhancements. But with that said, we do plan on moving forward with installing all of these additional enhancements to all vehicles that we have. Even though the award only covers a portion of our vehicles, the RTA intends to provide whatever remaining funding is needed to cover the rest of the vehicles, just so we have all of these enhancements and devices on all of our vehicles. So the next would be determining where the RTA will be pulling funding for these remaining enhancements that aren't covered by the grant, and then finalizing contracts with the vendors who will be installing this equipment. So as things progress, I will be in more regular contact, probably with Jason Tuttle at National Express and his team, as we coordinate a plan to get this equipment installed, as well as whoever will be doing maintenance in Ajo. So with that, does anyone have any questions related to the bus enhancement projects specifically? That's would be the focus of this agenda item. Okay, so if no additional discussion is needed or wanted for this agenda item, we can move on to agenda item number 4, which is just our safety reports. So this is something we've been doing at each of our Transit Safety Committee meetings. Staff from National Express and Second Generation will provide an update on any and all major safety-related incidents that have occurred since the last Transit Safety Committee meeting took place in August, as well as the actions that were taken to deal with these incidents. So I will start with Rebecca to provide an update for the National Express services. Do you have any comments or information you wanted to provide the committee for any major safety-related incidents that have taken place since August?
Well, since August, till now, we've had, 10 accidents and 5 incidents. Out of the 10 accidents, 4 were at fault on the driver, on the choices that they took at that time. And then out of the incidents, and 1 was at fault. And that was like not securing the wheelchair, tight enough on that one. But the accidents that were at fault, 1 was a fuel bay, driver, error. 1 was another power line, was a driver error. And then, unfortunately, we did have a driver who did fall asleep, which was also a driver issue. And then another one was a U-turn, a vehicle ahead had did a U-turn, and the driver did not wait and try to go around it. But those are the updates that I have since then.
Okay. Would you mind providing maybe a little bit more information on how those incidents were dealt with, to your knowledge or to your recollection?
Okay, when it is their fault, they have to go through a 2-hour retraining. They have specific videos to watch for whatever the incident was, you know, and then they have to go on a BTW evaluations behind the wheel. That is protocol for retraining. And out of those 4 accidents, on 2 of them, the driver, if it is, it depends what kind of accidents, you can be termed on the first offense. Or if you've had, you know, a couple in 24-month period, you could also be termed for that. So we did have 2 out of the 10 that were termed at that time.
Okay. Okay. I also know, while we're talking about safety, I know that you've been holding weekly safety meetings. How are those going? And do you feel like those are effective at all in helping to prevent potential future safety incidents that have been occurring?
Yes, we do have mandatory safety meetings. As we're growing, we had 3 safety meetings that we usually do. I've had to move up to sometimes 5 safety meetings during the week so that I can get them pretty much all through it. If for some reason it's an excused one, they do a one-on-one safety meeting with me. National Express has safety topics that we are given every month to go, whether it's dealing with the drive cams, driver behaviors that they see, as far as, you know, stopping before the stop sign, keeping your 4-second following distance, things like that. They have very good topics. Safety is everyone's responsibility. That is our campaign that we've had for the last couple of months, making sure that drivers understand the reporting processes for accidents, that if you see something, say something, the procedures, you know, as far as going through dispatch, reporting it, letting them tell them what they need to do. If it's something that you just have to write an incident report, or do we need assist with calling 911? But making sure that you're communicating. So those have been the biggest topics that we've had lately. On that, wheelchair securement, of course, we talk about that at every meeting, reinforcing that the drivers know exactly what they're doing as far as remembering to remove your securements when not in use. That you are double checking, doing that second check to make sure that the wheelchair is secured. And then, of course, our door-to-door process. But yes, that's what we've been talking about in our meetings lately.
That's great. Yeah, Thanks, Rebecca, for providing that additional information. I'm happy to hear that those really important topics are being discussed on a regular basis. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Rebecca? Okay. If not, we can move on to Kathy for the second generation services. Kathy, any incidents since August that have taken place that are worth noting?
Well, I am very excited to say that no, we haven't had any. I hope I'm not jinxing us, but we haven't had any accidents, preventable or non-preventable. We've had a few aversions. The technician, Brad, has discovered some things that weren't reported on some vehicles. And since we do the preventative maintenance, the PMIs, before they're actually due because of the long nature of the route, he has discovered a couple of things on there, and it actually averted a couple of accidents. So we were very grateful for that, but we haven't had any incidents or accidents, luckily, thankfully. We do have our monthly staff meetings still. They are safety meetings, staff meetings. We always take one ADA rule or one training for ADA, and that's always part of our training and reminders. And it's usually the same things as Rebecca talked about. It's that repetition of tying down a wheelchair, how to properly secure a wheelchair, when and how to check it safely all the time. And most of this, our drivers get a little bit complacent, and we just want to be reminding them all the time of the same rules. There's always a lot of gray area, but there are some drop dead rules that we try to go over with them as often as we can. And so far, since August, we're pretty good.
That's great. I'm really happy to hear that no accidents or incidents have occurred since August. That's wonderful. And also to hear that you're, keeping that repetition, keeping that information kind of at the front of your drivers' minds, because we all know how important that is to, especially with individuals who are in wheelchairs. There are a lot of things that can go by. So I'm glad to hear that, you are still having those conversations on a regular basis, as well as other ADA related information and fix. That's wonderful to hear. And I'm glad Brad was able to catch those issues with the vehicles. Very important as well. So we don't want any issues on the road. So perfect. Did anyone have any comments for Rebecca or Kathy about any of this information? All right. If not, we can go ahead and move on to agenda item number 5, which is just the adjournment. So before I officially adjourn the meeting, any additional announcements, comments, anything before we end the meeting today? Okay. Sounds like there aren't any. So with that, thank you for participating, and I will reach out to you before our next scheduled meeting. I want to wish everyone happy days, and again, thank you again for your work and getting this PTASP for 2024 approved. So I really appreciate that. And with that, have a good rest of your day, and thanks again. And I'll adjourn the meeting.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Mhm.
Bye.